again, if you recall, there is an article that says that 93% of the protests have been peaceful. Just gonna ignore that. There's an independent study. Alright guys, it is getting late. I know the stream just reset, so this is just kind of like whether or not I want to continue doing a stream or if I just want to cut it off here since I've reset. And I could just sit here reading your guys' ridiculous comments all night, but I don't feel like wasting my time with that anymore. Oh, I will, since we were on it and I didn't get to finish, I'll go ahead and just finish the list here. So domestic military supremacy, like I said, the National Guard being called into cities, Trump using his Gestapo goons to go into Portland to rile shit up, even worse than it was already. And then the last one here, fraudulent elections. So Trump already is trying to claim that the election coming up is going to be fraudulent, and if he loses, that's only when it's going to be fraudulent. It's when he's going to apparently claim that it was rigged or something, right? There's also, not to mention, nepotism, mocking the disabled, distrusting of his own cabinet. Multitude of convictions within his cabinet. I did mention that a little bit. And blatant contradictions. He lies literally on a daily basis. I see that you watched the Republican convention and have been convinced by the Republicans' grandiose claims that the supposed violent protesters are going to come into the suburbs and burn down all your houses. That's ridiculous. Yeah, and they've been convicted. The entire point of Antifa is anti-fascist. So if you show up being a fascist, Antifa, the notion that they're gonna get you. No, that's stupid. Alright, yeah, go watch Woke stream. And there's other streamers as well. They have protesters on the ground who live stream, like myself. They collect all of those videos in one place, and they just let people watch. And you can make your own decision as to how things are going. You have protesters out in multiple different cities, and you only hear from the news about the violent ones, right? But if you actually watch, like you're watching mine right now, it wound up being peaceful tonight. It's been peaceful for over 3 months. Why do you want to see my face? You want to dox me? Fuck you. I'm not Antifa. What's your obsession with this? Do you even understand who Antifa is, what they stand for, what they're doing? You can't just go around claiming everybody who's on the left side as Antifa, who wants to be deemed as a terrorist organization. That's literally fascism.
I'm glad it hit me like at the wrong way.
Sympathizer. Obviously. Wow. Yeah, you're literally advocating for fascist dictatorship. The cognitive dissonance, it's astounding. I haven't said it in a little while. You guys do know that Trumpers are in a cult, right? Their dear leader is infallible. I did have a list for that too. Yeah, you know what? I am going to stick around just a little bit longer, and go on this discussion for a moment here. Trump cult. Your leader is apparently infallible. Anything he does or says or anything like that is word of God. 2, suppression of skepticism. Any dissonance within the country is automatically suppressed. He sends goons to go to Portland to rile shit up and suppress them. Let's see, 3. Delegitimize former supporters. So you have however many Republicans coming from the Republican Party to support Joe Biden right now because they recognize how fucked up Trump is. Your own party is turning against itself. Let's see. Paranoid of outsiders. So that's pretty much the whole immigrant situation, all that kind of stuff. But it's also anybody that's outside of your little cult is you're paranoid of what they are. You're literally calling me Antifa because you have no clue who I am or what I stand for. But you know that I was just at a Black Lives Matter protest. I'm live streaming it and stuff like that. So you think obviously I'm Antifa. Because you know that fascism is bad, but you don't understand what fascism is by definition. Anything that is wrong, you're associating with both fascism and communism at the same time. Fascism and communism are literally opposites. A cycle of shame. So yeah, you're I'm not sure if there's a good example for cycle of shame off the top of my head to attribute towards the Trump cult. It's essentially any time that anybody within the cult of Trump tries to say otherwise, like, well, maybe Trump violating people's rights is not good. Anybody says that, you're like, oh, shame on you. How dare you consider the possibility that Trump's not infallible. Let's see. Irrational, contradicting logic. Again, I can just say the fact that we're talking about this, you're literally calling me Antifa. I claim to be anti-fascist just in general, as I don't agree with fascism. I'm here at the protests and stuff like that as that is RefuseFascism, because I believe Trump is a fascist and we need to keep him from getting more power. But you call me a fascist? That doesn't make sense. You also call me a communist, and like I said, communism and fascism are literally on the different sides of the spectrum there. But they're both authoritarian in general. That's the actual fucked up part, is authoritarianism. But Trump's an authoritarian. Let's see. Elitism or superiority complex, and essentially the you think that you're better than everyone else. You have yourself put up on a pedestal. You are the antithesis, or no, not the antithesis, the pinnacle of ideal American, and anything other than that is wrong. Let's see. Lack of transparency. So you do know that Trump hasn't released his tax returns, right? Like all of them and stuff like that. Everyone, he said he was going to release them. He hasn't. So either he's a liar, or there's something fucked up about his taxes that he doesn't want people to see, and he's just hoping that you forget about it. Let's see. Sanctity of secrets. So there is a part of the Trump cult that they know all of these special secrets, like QAnon and stuff like that, and you guys just don't understand, or you're not part of the in crowd. You're not part of it. You don't know, and it's a secret, and there's all these secret people in the background, and you have no proof. And let's see, last one here, willing to die for dear leader. So that I would probably go towards Kyle Rittenhouse situation. He didn't actually die for that, but you create this image of us versus them. These people are the enemy. You paint them as evil humans, and you dehumanize them to the point where these aren't actual people. They're just others. They're the others. They're not humans. They're something else. When you start painting people in a dehumanizing fashion like that, then people are willing to go out to attack the other people, those others, whoever the enemy is, willing to die for dear leader to make sure that the cult continues on. That's the 10 signs of you're in a Trump cult. I think that considering police budgets are astronomical in many cities, in many different areas of the country as well, not just cities, but cities are the highest offenders in these sort of situations, often because they're trying to suppress their low-income areas around the cities to prop up the high-income areas that are inside the cities that get them the most tax income and the most political support, right? So police departments are astronomically funded. Just today, there was a massive amount of cops at the protest. Hundreds of cops surrounding the protest and stuff like that. Which I have not too much of a problem with, but the fact that you have so many cops, all they're doing there is just lining the walls, and it was peaceful. I know that a lot of people want to talk about the fact that police are there just in case something goes wrong. You don't need that many cops in that situation. But yeah, cops are one of the only professions that have a very, very strong union, and it shows. They get a lot of support, and they don't get a lot of pushback. And they have their own little brotherhood that they go about in. Cops also have this developed cognitive dissonance that people that they serve are either, and I heard about this recently from an ex-cop who left the profession because he felt that he was going to be forced to continue to do stuff that he didn't agree with morally. And essentially, he was describing how police tend to have this this mentality developed as they are integrated into the police force, that if you don't agree with it, you get ostracized, and often you get forced out of your position. Sorry, what was I getting at? I'm just rambling on here. Stuff I've learned online, right? We all just learned this shit online, right? We'll find out who's right. I try and stick to content online that is reasonably from reputable sources and stuff, but I can always get led astray a little bit by a few things. But Jesus God, the Trumpers, whatever they fucking find from the depths of the deep net. Sure. It's like block. It's burning. So, funny you mentioned Black Bloc. They were actually here. The first time I've seen them, a couple weeks ago, I think, something like that. And I didn't like how they're coming off as in the situation. They crowded around themselves in a little group. They set themselves as separate from the lead leaders of the march that we were having. And to my understanding, the protests to be the people that are kind of like human shields. If things go wrong, they're going to be the people that stand up to try and protect peaceful protesters and stuff like that. If it's cops that are doing illegal shit, or if it's Trumpers or something like that coming out to fuck shit up. But they came off the wrong way. A lot of people didn't like their presence. They actually later in the march they kind of said they forwarded onto the beyond the group and had their own little forward march in front of the actual march that was happening. But I was training my camera on them to the extent that I wasn't understanding that they were Black Bloc at the time. I thought that they were some kind of group trying to take over the protests or the march. Like I said, we've been peaceful for 3 months, so these guys just showing up randomly, expecting shit to go down, something like that, or anticipating if things go down that they'll be needed. It came off the wrong way because they huddled all together. They looked like they were trying to do something. And even if they were there for good intentions to help protect the protesters in the event something happened, yes, it's been peaceful here. Philadelphia. I don't know where the fuck you're talking about, but it's been peaceful here. Now, I'm not talking about what happens in Philadelphia on a day-to-day. I'm talking about the protests. Protests themselves. People doing their rallies, doing their marches, nothing happens. It's been fine here. Now, there was the first few days after the shit started hitting the fan. That was fucked up. I kind of wish I showed up to be able to record that, but I wasn't actually on the mindset that I was going to be going to all of these events to record. 93% peaceful. Yeah, I mean, I'm talking to a fucking wall here. I'm gonna go ahead and cut off the stream. This is just getting annoying and boring. It's a nice night out. It's actually very chilly. Not too chilly, but it's a nice cool breeze, that kind of thing. I got the city hall in the background. I mean, are you going based off of what the police were deeming? Because yeah, if you go based off of what the police was saying, they call peaceful protests riots all the time. They announce into the crowds as nobody's doing shit at all. This has been deemed an unlawful assembly. You will be considered a riot. Please disperse. And then they attack the protesters. I said this earlier. I don't condone the damages that people are doing. I actually dislike it. And if somebody's trying to do that shit here, I'm going to capture it on video and let that get sorted out on its own. I mean, the fact that police are physically abusing protesters and stuff like that is not particularly happening here, but in other places. I'm glad that the videos of that. I mean, there was actually in near one of the universities, there was a police who used a baton to hit somebody over the head in a violent altercation that it was really the two conflicting with each other. I'm not exactly sure on exactly how all of that went down, but essentially there were protesters there, or there were police with their bikes. Something happened, that shit hit the fan, that the cops started beating people. And yeah, that cop, to my understanding, got reprimanded for doing that. Yay. Alright, well, most of the people in the comments here are talking about all of this bullshit and nonsense. I'm going to block you later, so bye, I'm never going to be talking to you again. And everyone else who's following, being fairly respectful in the comments and stuff like that, hope you stick around and watch for other videos in the future. Yeah, have a great day, great night, guys.